want to come to talking about categories specifically. And the first one is I want to talk about food. Now, the Nielsen data that came out, Nielsen IQ data, the latest data that came out, suggested that food was a category that drove growth. Right, but for HUL, it was a slower growth in terms of 3%. Would you attribute that? I mean, what would you attribute that entirely? During the results, you spoke about a slowdown in the tea side of the business also. But why is the food aspect then still a little slower?
Tea is a market in which we have seen downgrading, which we did not experience in other part of the portfolio. And why that happened for tea was tea as a commodity. There are two different kinds of tea, if I may just broadly simplify. There are premium teas. We buy a large portion of our tea using premium tea. And there are plainer teas, which are low quality tea. And in the crop which was produced last year, there's a good production which happened overall for commodity of low price, as I call plainer tea. And hence plainer tea prices came off much more than the premium tea prices. So the long-term equilibrium, the price gap between plainer tea and premium tea, that increased. Overall tea growth, and hence tea growth got impacted when there's no price growth. And we saw downgrading happening overall in the tea category. So our tea business basically was exposed to that reality in last few quarters as I speak. The latest quarter results, we had a small value decline. We had 3% tonnage increase. And mix overall, of course, had to follow the trend of downgrading in the category. HFD, we've been speaking at length, which is the second component of the two-third business I spoke about. Pandemic impacted, inflation impacted. So we've seen two large impacts which we have seen in a discretionary category like HFD in last few years' time. The rest of the business, which is the one-third business comprising of ice cream, coffee, foods, pretty good, I would say, portfolio, the way we have seen growth. Our foods portfolio has grown pretty well between Kisan Jam, between ketchup, between mayonnaise put together. Ice cream for March quarter did get impact. March month was not a good month from a temperature perspective, from a weather perspective. All of us are aware of unseasonal rains that it did impact ice cream sales. We had a fabulous year last year of ice cream in season. Of course, we will speak about it, what happens in June quarter as we announce results in July when we have the full season impact coming in. Coffee has seen pretty material inflation. Our business has been growing in double digits, but coffee has seen material inflation on commodity, which again then has a tell in terms of consumption of overall category in the market.
Just a word on home care also. Just wanted to understand there also now going forward. I mean, summer's also usually one season where you see an uptick for that particular category, especially. I wanted to understand going forward, what are the trends that we're seeing and what do you see driving growth really for home care? That's another category also according to industry data that has been performing really well. What have been the drivers behind that growth?
Last year we had very good growth as HUL. And the growth was driven both by price because of the inflation which happened in the economy. It was also driven by volume. We had near double-digit volume growth last year in home care category. And the reason why we had such performance which outpaced market significantly is because of the portfolio that we have developed over the last many years in home care space. Today, more than 3,000 crore is the amount of liquids portfolio that we have in home care, between what we sell as laundry liquid in Surf or Comfort in terms of fabric conditioner or for that matter Vim liquid. Equally, if I look at the premium and the mass component of our portfolio, today premium portfolio is a larger portion of Hindustan Unilever's portfolio compared to mass. And that's the journey that we have developed over the last 1 decade. And hence that resilience is built in. The overall point I mentioned earlier that during the period of high inflation, we have seen that premium portfolio has been more resilient. And we have that tailwind in our home care portfolio, which has a higher contribution from premium. And that tailwind has helped us to outpace market significantly last year.
Right, and now do you see the mass part of it also really growing because we're going to be, I mean, because you spoke about passing on benefits of the lower commodity prices for the laundry category also. So now do you see, while premium is resilient and continues to grow, will the mass part of it also really grow then? And sort of what is the kind of growth that you're looking at over the next couple of quarters?
Sure. So there are 2-3 dimensions, Shilpa, out here. First of all, the headline growth that we had for home care was also driven, as I mentioned, by price. That price component, the overall conversation that we had will tail off. And similarly, the price component, the price growth component for home care will also keep reducing. And hence total growth will be lower compared to what we had last year. The level of outpace that we had against competition last year was unprecedented. Will we keep growing ahead of the market? That's absolutely the intention of the business. but the scale of outpace will be very different compared to what we had last year. This was also the period I mentioned last year. The trusted brands got larger share of the business. As commodities overall have started to come off, we'll see more players coming in the market. Many players found it very difficult to run their business model with so much amount of volatility in the business. We will see those players coming back in the market. So overall, the distribution of market players will be a little different in current year compared to what we had last year.
Great. And, coming back to talking about the larger business, I want to talk about M&A also. We've seen significant, and you did talk about one category that was very important in terms of the healthy snacks and the nutrition department where you had Oziva and these acquisitions. Going forward, are you looking at more in this space itself? Are you looking at other spaces? I just want to get an idea on, what's the M&A pipeline for you looking like? And I want to understand, is it going to continue in this space, or are you looking at new spaces?
Yeah. So the way we look at any M&A for that matter is always from a category lens and a demand space lens. What are the demand space in which we are present, and how do we see demand space evolving going forward? And once we have a point of view that we do see demand space evolving going forward, we then start thinking, shall we launch our own brand? Shall we bring a brand from the stable of Unilever? Or shall we go on for a bolt-on acquisition? So there are all options on the table. Health and well-being is a category that we entered, as I mentioned a quarter ago, by taking a majority stake in one brand, Oziva, and a minority stake in well-being nutrition. With that, we forayed into health and well-being. These are the first two brands that we are basically entering the category into. But equally, we'll keep evaluating. There are some fabulous brands we have in the global stable of Unilever, and as they become relevant for consumption in the country, we'll bring them.
Right.
The spaces in which we want to operate, health and well-being, is a space where it comes on gut health, it comes on overall inner beauty, it comes on protein. Those are the spaces that we want to operate in, vitamin mineral supplement space in health and well-being. So that's definitely a category we do see as India is getting more affluent, overall consumption needs are changing, a heightened amount of awareness in consumers of a balanced nutrition. These categories will start playing a larger role in overall health and well-being of people, and hence the foray into health and well-being. Equally, when I look at beauty and personal care overall and beauty space, again, where we do see a space of masstige price point, and that's the space within beauty which today is getting more excitement. And masstige is something which is more than premium. So when I talk premium, is 120 plus price index, but masstige starts 250 plus, for example. Yeah. And in that segment of the market, though it is niche and small today, we do see market basically growing very well in that space. And which is why then we launched 5 different brands in that space. When we launched 5 different brands, it was a mix. Some brands we created from scratch in the country using our agile innovation capabilities, a brand like Acne Squad, a brand like Novology. But equally where we did have crafted fabulous brands in the stable of Unilever, Simple, Love Beauty Planet, Baby Dove, then we got from the stable of Unilever.
Yeah.
But equally there's a fabulous brand externally which we think adds and can do a good job with our portfolio. We're always open for bolt-on acquisitions as well.
Right.
But one has to be very mindful that you only acquire when you can create more value.
Not only are there D2C brands, but also larger companies like Reliance, for instance, has entered the space, and they have now launched brands in all the categories that you're present in, and they are going for the USP of having lower priced brands, and across categories they've launched. How do you view the competitive scenario, and do you think this will trigger a price war, or sort of like, how do you see the competitive landscape changing?
See, there are 2 large elements of FMCG market, important to understand. First of all, $46 per capita consumption. A huge runway for growth for overall market to develop. So market has enough headroom, enough headspace for multiple players to coexist and create value. That's one reality of FMCG market. And which is why in India, FMCG is not a zero-sum game. From here onwards, the way I see the intensity will continue, but there's huge value to be created. Now, one of the points I keep talking about that, yes, we do focus on competition, but our obsession is on consumers. What can we do with our consumers to ensure that we bring best in the class products for consumers, products which are superior, more demand spaces we can enter into, and do a good job with our consumers. In long run, that's the dividend we'll get as a business.
Right.
Now, coming to Reliance, we have a fabulous relationship with Reliance. They are our suppliers of key ingredients. They're also our customer. We have a fabulous relationship with them. And as I mentioned to you, any competition is good.
Right.
And competition has always got best out of Hindustan Unilever.
Right. Wonderful. I think that's about it from my end, Ritesh. And these have been wonderful insights. In fact, not just about the company, but about the overall industry as well. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
My pleasure, Shilpa. Thank you so much for having me here.